Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga show, Fantasy Football, here returning on a Friday morning for another good spell of fantasy action. Joined as ever by Rune on the other end. How are you this morning, Rune?
I'm very good here in snowy Copenhagen. I actually moved inside the top 50 fantasy-wise last week, so really pleased about that and hoping to keep it going this week.
Yeah, that's certainly something to be celebrated. Absolutely. So that's why you're the expert at the end of the day, and that's why we're all here to try and replicate some of these excellent picks that you are providing us with. So that's what we're going to be doing as per tradition. Obviously, we'll take questions where we can. Apologies again for the croaky throat. I am still under the weather, but I'm here for you guys to make sure that we get this show underway as well. So I think at the very least that deserves a like if you can. Indeed, like the video that, believe it or not, helps an awful lot with algorithms and the like on YouTube. Comment along your questions. We'll take them and ping them over to Rune for his obviously excellent input, and subscribe to the channel if you can possibly do so if you haven't already. And of course, make sure you check out Bully News, obviously, who provide the insight, the fantasy expertise, whether that's via article or via this show, and as well as previews, reviews, long reads, exclusives. Yeah, that's the place to go for your German football news. Lovely stuff. We will just crack on with the show, and then we'll start taking questions after the first segment, which of course is defenders. And Rune, your three picks are on screen now, so I shall hand over to you to explain and work through. Just a quick one to say morning to you, Broody. Thanks for checking in. Hope you're well and enjoy the show.
Thank you, Rory. So my budget pick this week in defense is Ozan Kabak from Hoffenheim. Just had a look at his numbers, and his points from duels won alone are quite insane, especially if you look before the Bayern loss. Obviously, that was always going to be a difficult game for Hoffenheim, especially after their early sending off. You kind of knew which way that game would go. But nevertheless, the two games before that, Kabak's numbers are really impressive, especially in terms of duels won. Now they have a run of pretty good fixtures coming up against Freiburg and Köln, St. Pauli, Heidenheim. So I think he's quite a good option for the price. His ownership is quite low as well, so a solid differential pick, I think. Now my mid-price pick is Jeff Chabot from Stuttgart, who was actually benched last time out. That's the big disadvantage about Stuttgart fantasy-wise, to predict what Sebastian Hoeneß will do. With Stuttgart playing in other competitions as well, that can be quite difficult. And Chabot was given a rest last time, but on the positive side, that means we know he'll be playing this time. He was guaranteed a place in the starting lineup by Hoeneß yesterday, so we know he'll start. And Stuttgart are one of the sides with a great schedule as well, playing FC Köln this week, and have some nice games coming up after that. And Chabot is sort of similar player to Kabak in the sense that he gets a lot of points from physicality and won duels, so he should have a lot of potential this week as well. And another example of that type of player is Edmund Tapsoba from Leverkusen, who's my premium pick. I think with 13% ownership, he's a player that has been flown a bit under the radar fantasy-wise. I know it's difficult to fit all the best options in at the back, but nevertheless, he's been incredibly consistent. I really like type of fantasy asset that just consistently picks up around 200 points each week, and that's the case with Tapsoba. He may not have the highest ceiling, but in terms of floor, he's really good. Getting a lot of points from completing passes too, given Leverkusen's sort of possession-based style. He also takes part in the build-up, and obviously also a great duel winner. And Leverkusen have a really appealing schedule as well. So another great option at the back, I think.
Excellent stuff. Thank you for that, Rune. That are some great picks there along for some ownerships that are slightly lesser. Certainly. I just want to pick up a comment that I saw on socials this morning that hopefully we can help with a little bit. It's from Gavin Doyle, obviously a regular viewer of ours. So Gavin, thank you for this. He's asked, can we do a bit of a focus on differentials with a high ceiling with Raum, Olise, and Schlotterbeck all out? Yes, they are indeed. Everyone has loads of cash, so we don't need any cheap enablers, but we do need pricey, low-owned punts likely to start that could lead to rank rises. So that's one from Gavin there, Rune. Obviously, as you mentioned, some high performers, some high pricey owned players are out this weekend. Differentials with high ceiling. I suppose that's pretty much already what you've picked in terms of the defenders there for Gavin. Is there anyone else that strikes you as well from a defensive point of view? And then we'll work our way through, obviously, midfielders and forwards for him later.
Just a general thought about the question. Great differentials don't necessarily need to be expensive. But yeah, I get the point. But I mean, I can identify differentials in the low budget category that some of the players with both potential this week, such as Leonard Carl in midfield. You mentioned Olise yourself, Gavin, and I think Carl would be the most obvious player to replace him with, and he's actually in the low budget category. So maybe it's more about, and that's what I'm trying to do, picking out those differentials, no matter what price category they're in. Anyway, at the back, Willi Orban, I think is another player similar to those three I mentioned earlier. Player that's really strong in duels, also a bit of a set piece threat. Leipzig have a great game against Wolfsburg coming up at home. And he's a player that's been doing consistently well as well. And a lot of players have had David Raum in their sides, and now Raum is out as well, suspended. So I think Orban is a player that you could potentially replace him with, at least for this match day. Mittelstadt is always an interesting option if we're looking at really expensive defenders. But then again, he has also been rotated out of his side a few times. Jeff Hendricks is a good alternative. So despite his really high price tag, he isn't like 100% nailed on to start, which is a bit of a downside, I think, with him. We all know the kind of potential he has. So Mittelstadt, if you pick him, for example, you could go with a free at the back system in order to be more safe if he doesn't start, because he has that potential. But I think those two, Orban and Mittelstadt, are some of the great options that are quite expensive if you're looking for expensive players at the back.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you for the question, Gavin, and thanks for coming up with a couple of options there, Rune. I think Orban is a great pick out. I think he's been a player that's heavily featured in fantasy circles for a long while, hasn't he? And maybe we've mentioned him less so this season, but we know what the threat is for sure. A couple of comments in the live chat, so we shall go straight to those. Thank you for these. Broody, thank you for this. Thoughts on Wagnerman? He seems to be starting this match day and is far more offensive than Chabot, and he is more exclusive, having only being 7% ownership, I think. Yeah, great point there from Broody. Wagnerman, can swap, with Assignon a fair bit from a rotation point of view, but has also been, he is completely, more offensive, absolutely, than Chabot. At times he's played right wing, left, on the left-hand side, randomly as well, that Hoeneß has tested out. So he's certainly got a capability, Rune, of hauling points, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think he's a bit more of a hit or miss option. What I like about Chabot, the thing is, you don't need to be an attacking defender to do well in this game. A lot of the high performing defenders are actually dual winners, center backs.
True.
But sure, if you win a lot of duels and you're also chipping in offensively and more inclined to likely to set up a goal or be involved in a goal in general. That's obviously a plus. But with that being said, I still think his ceiling his floor is lower than Chabot's, just because Chabot gets a lot of points from winning duels alone, and that takes him along a lot of the way. Those duels won, but sure, a great differential. I think his ownership is a bit lower. So yeah, could pay off. But if you're playing safe, then Chabot would be a pick, I think.
Lovely stuff. Thank you for that. Also, yeah, a comment on Voldy Anton being a solid replacement for Schlotterbeck. Similar as you said, Rune. You know, Anton's the sort of defender that will win duels and get points that way for sure, won't he? And yeah, for Dortmund, the fixture tonight. Yeah, you know, it's a decent one on paper, but Mainz obviously are a team that are recovering, so it should be a good game, I think. But yeah, stands to reason that Anton could be an easy switch in for Schlotterbeck, and again, likely to be low owned, I'm presuming.
Yeah, I actually had him in my team when he scored that goal a few weeks ago. That was one of the performances that really lifted me in the standings. I doubled up on Dortmund for a few games at the back, and he's actually quite good as well. And especially now that Schlotterbeck is out, probably more likely to take part in build-up play. Bensebaini is another option just for this week alone. Expecting him to start at the back, and yeah, he's also a great duel winner, but also capable of chipping in offensively. Maybe he'll even get to take the penalty if Dortmund get one, because with Serhou Guirassy, you never know if he scores or not. That's a bit of a show every time Dortmund get a penalty. But yeah, Bensebaini usually scores penalties, so might get the chance to take it if Dortmund are awarded one.
Yeah, Anton currently 12% popularity or ownership, averaging 200 points per match as well. So
that's really good,
he is performing well. Absolutely. So yeah, thank you for that one. Those two comments, really helpful there. Obviously just picking up the comment here as well about Bensebaini. There, Rune has been put, mentioned by Hjorvar. I hope I've got that pronunciation okay. I normally butcher them.
Yeah, I think it's Hjorvar.
Hjorvar.
Hjorvar, yeah. I think so.
Well, we think
my dad is from the Faroe Islands. I think maybe Hjorvar is from Iceland.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Well, thank you for the question and the comment. Yeah, about Bensebaini. Yeah, Rune, you jumped onto it. Yeah, it looks like a comeback for this match week could be a good one to pick out. And well, there we go again. We're getting validation. Thank you for that, and thank you for watching and enjoying. One more question and comment on defenders here from Sard. Good morning to you and thank you for watching. Nathaniel Brown looks valuable too this weekend, Rune.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've been looking at Frankfurt assets, but of course they have a new coach now, and I'd say the first game under the year was a bit of a snooze fest, to be honest. Not a lot happening there, not from a fantasy perspective either. But they have a pretty good matchup this week against Gladbach at home, and Brown, as we all know, is a great fantasy option when he's at his best. Type of player who's really involved offensively. So at this stage, I imagine, I just looked at his popularity. He's at 4% popularity, so that's actually quite low for a player like Brown. So yeah, actually a really interesting differential for this week at least. I'm pretty sure Frankfurt have Bayern coming up next week. So yeah, but a solid 1 week punt.
Yeah, 1 week punt. Against a struggling Gladbach side. We were talking about it last night. The game doesn't strike as being one that you can predict very easily because they're both both completely out of sorts. But yeah, new coach bounce perhaps for Frankfurt could do with some points being gained there. Lovely stuff. Thank you for some great questions there. We will move on to midfielders now for you all. And yeah, again, for midfielders, get your questions in. Rune, again, please do the honours.
Yeah, Thank you. Starting off with Leonard Karl, who I mentioned earlier as my budget pick. He's been going through a bit of a rough period, and yeah, obviously he was marked for that step over attempt against Hoffenheim, and then spent the whole 90 minutes on the bench against Leipzig in the cup in the midweek. But at the same time, he strikes me as the type of person who easily like sort of brushes that off. He seems very focused and really mature for his age. Seems like he has the mentality needed to cope with these sorts of things. And I think it would be very logical to give him the chance this week, given that Michael Olise is suspended. He's played in that right wing role quite a few times this season, and obviously done really, really well, and scored some amazing goals for Bayern, and great matchup against Werder. So I think at the price, he would be a quite obvious replacement for Olise, especially now that he was rested against Leipzig. It really surprised me if he doesn't start this one. Mid-price pick is Julian Brandt, another player I've had in my team actually, and he's been doing some solid work in the last few weeks. Got 260 points last time, and his ownership is quite low. So that shows that he's an example of a differential that can really push you forward. That Dortmund are hosting Mainz tonight. Might be a bit of a difficult game for Dortmund to open up that Mainz defense. It can be quite frustrating to play against, I think. But it is the sort of game where you need someone like Julian Brandt to make that decisive pass, use his vision to open up the defense and find the key. So I think he could be on the ball a lot this game, and he's in quite good form. So don't think I would be selling him for this one. And then finally, my premium pick is Claude Maurice from Augsburg. They're playing Heidenheim at home, a game that they really target a win in, I think. Claude Maurice was a bit disappointing last week. Augsburg in general were against Mainz. Also the sort of game that they shouldn't be losing ideally from that perspective, but they lost, and he got 116 points, so that was quite disappointing. But if you look at his returns before that, he'd scored more than 200 points in 6 games in a row. And he's Augsburg's main creative force. Likes to take defenders on, really likes to shoot from distance too. So should be a great chance for him to bounce back, and a really good fixture for Augsburg at home.
Yes, absolutely. Excuse me. Yeah, Claude Maurice, from an Augsburg point of view, if he is ticking, they are ticking often. He is a huge part of their offensive play, and I think you're very right to pick that out there, Rune, for Augsburg and the potential for this weekend. Lovely stuff, some good picks in there. We'll just come to any comments or extra feedback on midfielders, and I think there's one from Broody here, so we'll get that on screen. I think Tillman is close to a must-have currently. Good form, great schedule, and only 7% ownership. His offensive potential is undeniable, and a great differential. What do you think? Very well explained and pointed out there from Broody, Rune. Tillman, a great option there for sure.
Yeah, he's another great option. Wouldn't say he's close to a must-have, because you have a lot of excellent options in that particular price category in midfield, I think, at the moment. But true, Tillman and Alex Garcia in principle from Leverkusen, both excellent options, and Leverkusen have a really amazing schedule coming up. But they're also going to rotate a lot, I think, given they have a few Champions League games coming up. For now, Tillman should be safe, but that is a bit of a downside, because their schedule really is excellent. If they were playing just the Bundesliga, I think you'd definitely need 3 Leverkusen players in your side. But either Tillman or Garcia would be good to have, I think, this week. Even though Leverkusen disappointed me a lot last week. Expected more from them there.
Yes.
But yeah, true. Having a Leverkusen asset in midfield definitely makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good shout on Tillman there, Broody. Thank you for raising that. FPL Swans, good morning to you. Thank you for tuning in. Best shout for midfield start with Elise out this weekend. Yeah, a big question will be how players choose their stars. Yeah, taking it out of the obvious Rune. Yeah, there's some interesting midfield picks this week. Does anyone stand out to you that you've got a good feeling about?
That's a difficult one, actually. And that's the decision that can really set you apart from your competitors. Speaking of differentials and doing something different, because most weeks all stars are just locked at on Elise. So I think there are a few options you could consider. Baumgartner playing at home against Wolfsburg side in a lot of trouble. He's proven again and again how much of a goal threat he is. So I think he's an excellent option. I think you could go with Leonard Karl too, although his form isn't amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously his price tag is low, but still he's playing as a right winger for Bayern in a game against Werder, and yeah, is capable of doing incredible things, individual things. So it's another option. I think Claude Maurice, if you want to take a bit of a chance. I really expect Augsburg to try to dominate that game. Maybe Heidenheim will sit a bit deep, and Claude Maurice will be a lot on the ball, taking shots from distance. I think that would make a lot of sense. So yeah, maybe a bit more of a gamble, but hey, yeah, if you want to do something different, he could be your guy.
He could. And let's not forget, the point that you're making about Maurice being very keen to shoot a goal from distance. You can accumulate quite a lot of points just by having shots on target in this game, and obviously you get more points. If a defender's having a shot, for example, but obviously he counts as a midfielder, so he could accumulate in that sense quite well. So yeah, very good points there. Couple of comments here from Hjorvar. Thank you for these. Think of Musiala similarly to Ben Spaini, coming back after a long-term injury. Even more enticing this week since funds are not a problem given the suspensions. And then, yeah, adding to the point, maybe a bit too early to be given the start though. Yeah, Rune, Musiala, Bayern have managed his return very carefully, as they rightly would do, because they have the players to cope with their schedule, and there's been no rush to do so. I think I've seen in the odd outlet that he's kind of noted to possibly start. What do you think about his chances?
He has a chance, but can't know for sure. Maybe they'll play Gnabry again and give him another week. So yeah, that's the thing. If we knew he'd be starting, it would be a really, really good differential pick. But just the fact that we don't know, and I thought that maybe he'd even start last week, but he didn't. So clearly they're taking their time with him, and that makes a lot of sense. But for me, there's a bit too much uncertainty about his starting role at the moment, and especially with the other options available in midfield, I'd rather go with someone that I just know will start, I think, for the time being. But definitely a player to have on your radar, and when he is in a condition to start, then he's definitely a player worth considering, of course.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, thank you for that comment. But the uncertainty around him, I guess, makes him a punt, but it could well be a good one. We'll have to see. Lovely stuff. We shall move on then to our last section of the show, which of course is strikers. They're on screen for you all right now for the 3 picks that you have made this week, Rune. So again, back over to yourself.
Yeah. Starting with the Leverkusen asset, Patrick Schick as my budget option. So he's only scored once since the turn of the year, which is quite disappointing from a player like Schick. Generally, I think Leverkusen have struggled a bit, and also received a fair bit of criticism in the press as a result of that, for their playing style and the fact that they're maybe not creating enough chances. But nevertheless, they have a excellent schedule, as we talked about earlier. So yeah, it would be a good time to bring him in, I think. His price tag is 8 million, which is really low for someone like Schick, and his ownership is 5% as well. And yeah, definitely think he'll start this week. But yeah, as I mentioned earlier, bit of a rotation risk with many of the Leverkusen players, and that's the case for Schick as well. Christian Kufane is an alternative, so yeah, he'll get his chance at some point. And the question is when. But I think Schick should start this week against St. Pauli at home. So that's a great fixture alone just for this week, and then you can always just consider what to do next week. And as my mid-price pick, I went with the real 1 week punt, Kalimuendo from Frankfurt. Frankfurt are playing Bayern next time, so yeah, that sort of limits Kalimuendo to 1 game. But yeah, as we talked about, they're playing Gladbach at home, Eintracht. That's the sort of game that they'll really target a win in. Riera, I'm sure, would really like to get 3 points here. And Gladbach are in a lot of trouble at the moment. I think one of the weakest teams currently in the Bundesliga with the way they're playing. Rumors going around about problems in the dressing room. Not looking good for them at the moment. So with Kalimuendo's ownership down to 3%, could pay off bringing him in, although there are lots of great alternatives up front. So maybe hard to find a place for him, but just wanted to mention him nevertheless. And then finally, a premium pick is Dennis Undav. Who's just Stuttgart's main man up front. I think we talked about him last week as well, the fact that he's not just scoring goals, but also providing assists. And obviously Stuttgart had a really disappointing game and result last week. They'll probably be really fired up to bounce back from that. The schedule is great in general, so he's the sort of player you could keep for several weeks. Just a solid pick up front. But the question is again, can you find the room for him with if you have Kane and Diaz and one of the Leipzig guys, then it's difficult. I had to mention them as well because I think most people at this point have at the top at the least have Kane and Diaz and Diomande or Nusa. That's a really strong front trio as well. But these 3 players are some of those that could be really valuable alternatives if you're looking for someone else.
Yes, absolutely. Some good pickouts there, for sure. Like the 1 week punt for Kalimuendo as well there. Lovely stuff. Well, we'll just finish off with any more comments and questions. You can see there's one here from Broody. Again, thank you for this one. What is your recommendation about the number of strikers? I have Kane, Diaz, and Kurasi currently, and I'm unsure whether to play 2 or 3 strikers, given the rotation risk of Bayern players. Rune, I mean, you mentioned Diaz. I think someone tagged us on socials last weekend. Oh no, sorry, it was about someone else. But I think Diaz, the Diaz with a star haul 1,000 points, something crazy like that.
He did that last week, and fortunately I had my star on him just because of the uncertainty with Kane. I chose to do that.
Yeah, huge haul of points. Someone mentioned possibly the lowest ever fantasy score. Daniel KZ, Daniel Zentner chatted to us on X and said that Kevin Akpaguma, slightly off topic, but he got minus 177 points last week. for his
Okay.
performance. That's got to be up there with an all-time low, hasn't it? From a scoring point of view, that's seriously bad. Yeah, we send our sympathies out to anyone that might have owned Akpaguma last weekend. Sorry, back to the question for you, Broody, here. Yeah, 2 or 3 strikers, Rune. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, difficult one. It's a bit like last week when there was a bit of uncertainty about Kane and the fact that he had missed training due to a cold. Pretty similar this week. Okay, Girassi, we know he'll start. Probably Diaz as well, because he was just given a rest not too long ago, and also not a lot of alternatives for his role. Kane, could he get rotated out for Jackson? In principle, could happen if you want to play it safe. 4-4-2 would be the way to go. I don't think Kane would be on the bench for the whole 90 minutes, though, no matter what happens. Even if Jackson starts, I mean, that very rarely happens, that Kane just watches a game from the bench.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a bit like with Diaz. When he was benched against HSV, a lot of players probably had him starting up front and came on and scored at the break. So that's always a factor too with these Bayern guys. Even if they don't play, they can do a lot of damage coming off the bench. But sure, if you want to play it safe, 4-4-2 is the way to go. Yeah, if you want to take a bit more of a risk, be playing with 3 strikers. To be honest, I'm not really sure what I'll do yet myself. I'll have to think it through, but wouldn't be too worried about playing three strikers, even if there's a bit of rotation risk, because they're just so good coming off the bench as well, even in the case they don't start these guys.
Yeah, for sure. And comment here from Purvar. For a long time, the star was nailed on as Kane, but it looks like it's turning into a bit of a coin toss with Diaz, given their recent form. Yes, indeed. Yeah, great point. Exactly what we were mentioning last weekend. Those that went with Diaz very much profited from that. Yeah, it's a bit more of a coin toss, but yeah, it's a tricky one, I guess, at the moment, Rune. But what do you think? Are you still siding with Kane just about, or are you feeling that the tide is changing slightly?
It is actually interesting because exactly, it's not like with Ulisse in midfield where you just know where to place your star every week. It's you actually have a choice now in a way that you didn't have before. And the thing with Diaz is, he gets points in a lot of different ways, playing on the wing, taking players on, and all that. He's capable of getting points from different ways than Kane. So especially this week, I think Diaz is a bit more safe to start. Actually, still expect Kane to start, but that's also a factor. I mean, if you consider it a coin toss, then the fact that you know one of the guys will definitely start is also worth considering. So yeah, true. And that's it. That's really interesting, actually, that there's a decision up front suddenly.
Indeed. Thank you for that question as well. Yeah, 50-50 coin toss at the moment, potentially. Broody just saying thank you for your thoughts and have a good weekend to all. Thank you for tuning in with us this morning, pal. And Gavin coming in with a question late on here. Thank you for popping on. So which is the ideal formation this week? 4-4-2, 3-4-3, or 4-3-3? I've been stuck in 70th overall rank for several weeks now, principally for not nailing the optimal formation. Well, Gavin, you're doing a fine job being 70th. Obviously, overall rank, that's a great effort. Yeah, to the question and point, Rune, formation, yeah, tricky to nail at the moment. We've kind of half had conversations about it throughout the show, but again, to the point at hand, what do you think?
Yeah, it's really difficult, actually. Sometimes I get it right and sometimes I don't. the thing is, with the midfielders, you're a bit more reliant on them being involved in goals. And yeah, during weeks where your midfielders just really step up, like last week, for example, obviously getting 4 midfielders was the right decision. And whether that happens is really hard to predict, I think. But at the moment, I think there's a lot of great options in midfield, and that's making me lean towards 3-4-3. A lot of guys involved in goals in midfield currently. When I look at the fixtures, a lot of goals there. So I think that's what I currently lean towards. Wouldn't mind playing with 3 strikers, as I said before. I feel fairly confident in Kane and Diaz and Diomande, and just imagining going 4-4-2 and then seeing Kane and Diaz both start on Saturday. That would be really terrible, I think. So for me, it's probably 3 strikers. I need to think it through, but that's what I lean towards at the moment. Most likely 4 midfielders. But it is a tough one at the end of the day. I think with the defenders, just one final thought with defenders, their floor is usually a bit better, especially if you pick the guys who get a lot of points from 1 duels. So I think that's probably playing it a bit more safe to go with 4 defenders, because you know what you're going to get from guys like Tapsoba, Slotterbeck when he's playing, Orban, whatever. These sort of guys, they usually get around 200 points, whereas in midfield, you can have players really exploding, like Claude Maurice, if he scores 2 goals, whatever, against Heidenheim. Not saying he does, but if he does, he'll get probably more than 400 points. So I think that's also a key thing to consider. But it is really difficult. And most weeks, I'm not even sure myself what's the best formation is.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Gavin. Hope we've helped you out a little bit there. I say we. I hope Rune has helped out. Thank you for that. Lovely stuff. We'll bring the show to a close before I combust into a massive snot ball. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and honestly, great questions and insight. This show is as much yours as it is ours. Great community and awesome questions that make the show what it is. So another awesome one for us all to have enjoyed this morning. So just to close up, as per, just with a couple of usuals. So make sure you leave a like on this show. That'd be fantastic. If you've not been watching us live this morning, do comment and we'll pick up and add any questions or answer any questions where we can before the Friday night deadline hits. And of course, subscribe to the channel. And you can find us completely all over social media at the Bundesliga Show, where we promote all our shows and all content as well. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Rune, as always, for your excellent insights. Have a great weekend all. Good luck, and we'll catch you on Monday to review it all once more. Cheers all.
Bye.